As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right wing doom? It's worth it. How to talk to your right wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? Created by we the people, but now controlled by the billionaires like they've been controlling everything else. Well, you know what? We will take our country back. That's a promise. But of course, we got to engage for that, and that's what we're all about. Engaging, and making the changes necessary. Anyway, without further ado, let's go to the geniuses in El Estudio, El Señor Jack Van Bever and Mayana. I don't know if Howard is in or not. How you guys doing?
Yeah, Howard's upstairs in his lair, tying
Uh,
up cans and strings.
oh, Howard is in that cubby hole.
Yes, yes.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I'm here.
I heard, well, you're there, but I mean, earlier on, I was wondering if you guys were partying because I heard all kind of great stuff in there. Oh, are they
We have
Yeah.
partying?
laughs.
Well, we had a laugh. We had a scare last week, and this week we're having laughs.
Oh, well, hey, I mean, laughs are better than scares, although you get a deeper reaction from scares. Well, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
ask Mayana about it.
How's it going, my brother?
It's good. It's good. All right. Social Security is an earned benefit that was set up as a social safety net to put back money in a government account for an aging worker to have some minimal income when they are too old to work. It is withdrawn from your paycheck, and your employer has to match the deduction. The problem is greedy oligarchs and plutocrats want to exploit the pool of money in these Social Security trust funds. So they are working to disrupt the people's trust in Social Security, saying it will run out of money at some future date. But the plan is to make Social Security difficult to access and get information from, so the people lose confidence in the Social Security network. Then they will claim it doesn't work and replace it with something the fascists can profit off of. Notice I said the fascists can profit off of.
You nailed it. You nailed it. That was a short article that I came across yesterday, and I want to get a little bit more in detail about that later. But this morning, I read about some stuff on vouchers and teachers, and did a little bit of research as I was, waiting to get the program started. But we'll get there. Anyway, anything else, my dear brother, or anything you want to start this program with, Mayana?
No, I'm good. I think Jack said it.
Jack,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, that's it.
you see what she said, Jack? I think Jack said it. So, by the way, if there are any issues there, take it up with Jack. All right. Anyway, folks, we're gonna have a great show. But you know what? I kind of just perusing around the news as I do every morning, and I picked up the Times. And when I say I picked up the Times, folks, I do everything electronically. So, you know, uh, I went ahead and looked at the Times, and they're like, "Hey, school systems are in danger. Less people are going to, there are less people going to high schools and elementary schools, all that good stuff." And the reason why, of course, is our birth rates are down, etc. But the other thing with public schools is that a lot of conservative states are passing what again? Vouchers. And people just look at vouchers and they think school choice. My school is lousy, so therefore I am going to get rid of my school and do something else. But before I get started, I want to go ahead and welcome our Substack viewers. Remember, we missed the first few dozen or so, but with us we have Cheryl Elkins. We have, of course, Janice Lynch, Dad Adventurer Actionist. We also have Summer, how do you say that? Smart SH Margaret. And then we have Marge KJ and she says, Morning Egberto, Marge from Chesapeake, Virginia. Chesapeake, Virginia. Is the sun up yet? I don't think the sun. Yeah, actually, you guys are probably having a beautiful sunrise in the bay right now, right, Marge? Linda also, and John A. Davis, welcome aboard. Bruce Johnson, welcome aboard. And of course, in our other chat, we've got Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. And Margaret Ryan says, Good morning from Chattaroy, Washington. So we've already started the program with two coasts, the middle of the country, and everywhere else. So we're all over, folks. And of course, to start the program, before I go into those voucher systems, it seems like somebody wanted to call in early, and that looks like it is John from Cyprus. John, what's on your mind, my brother? What's on your mind?
Well, I originally called because I need to vent. Politically, watching all the shows and the corruption of mainstream media almost complete now. But you know what? Instead of being negative and saying all the things that I want to say about the corruption, and seeing the media this morning, nobody's calling what's going on in Texas cheater. Nobody's saying, "Hey, Abbott's cheating." That's what he's doing. And I said, quit calling it anything else. But the headlines in the New York Times, this morning news, the Houston Chronicle ought to be cheaters. You're trying to rig the election. That should be the story, but it's not. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this. What a great article you showed on Facebook with Carol Claire Berkey, how she explains economics versus socialism and capitalism. And that was so spot on. That is so spot on. And I can hardly wait to hear yours on your take on the vouchers, because I know that's the reintroduction of segregation to our country. It's the attempt, because let's face it, the Civil War isn't over. We're still fighting, and that's really what I wanted to say. Just give you accolades for posting that. Such a brilliant explanation of what really socialism is versus capitalism.
Thank you, my.
It's too bad that the thing is it was the American people, the politicians, and including the people that follow them, are ignorant, and they're so ignorant. And I want to paint everybody with the same brush. But Jesus, man, come on! The people that run the newspapers ought to have degrees, ought to have credentials that say, "Hey, post what's really going on. Tell us they're trying to fix the elections over and over and over again. Keep saying it."
Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you that I'm saying that. And number two, let me tell you that all of this is really by design. And I've constantly told folks that back in the 60s and 70s, as our level of understanding of economics and healthcare and all of that started to increase, there was a concerted efforts to dumb the country down. And people like, oh, what are you talking about? Read the Powell memo. The Powell memo was business's scary document that said, "Oh my God." I mean, I am paraphrasing, but when you read between the lines, it's a document that said, "Oh my God." People are starting to ask questions. Why is it that they're allowing themselves to be antiseptic slaves while a few of us were? I mean, it doesn't say that, right? I'm paraphrasing it. But when you read the document, you cannot come out with any other conclusion. And they've done everything to dumb the country down. They've done everything to make sure we don't understand concepts or we don't critically think. And every time we start to get there, we see these different actions, wokeism, CRT, all these things come into play, all of it to try to keep our population dumb. But anyway, thank you
Well,
for that, John. Go
the
ahead. Go ahead.
fact that the fact that public radio is under attack tells you everything about
There you go.
who is really socialist. Who is
I
really
am.
socialist? And the voucher program, again, to me, why is the National Republican Party attacking my kids' schools?
Yeah, we're going to
Wow.
talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Bruce. I
All
appreciate
right,
it. It wasn't on the subject for today, but I saw it, the article, and I said, man, that is something that I should have done a little bit about. But I'm going to start it there. But just before I start, let me get Bruce, see what Bruce wants to talk about. Then I'm going to hit the subject because I really want to talk about this. Bruce, come on in real quick, my dear brother.
Yeah, I have 2 points. Hello,
Yes,
hello.
sir. You're here.
I have 2 points to make. First is I went to get my car inspected and I had a stuck oxygen sensor unit, so it failed. Should I follow Trump's uh, way and tell the owner of the shop to fire that mechanic? There's no way my car failed. My my second point is uh, I believe all children are responsible of all adults. So when I'm watching the Live Aid special and Geldof says that an overabundance of food in the world and people are starving is not acceptable. So why am I hearing, because this is a moral issue, why am I hearing nothing but crickets from so-called religious people like Mitt Romney and George Bush? I'm supposed to be religious. Anyway, I'm done.
Thank you very much, brother Bruce. But that is so true. I mean, for those of you who consume TikTok, first let me tell you, if you want, you can actually turn TikTok into a history book if you follow the right people and if you watch the right utility. I mean, TikTok is kind of consistent that kind of a way. So I follow a couple of professors and a couple of other folks that use TikTok as the way to get around a lot of the censoring that you have now in colleges, universities, and high schools and so forth. And I have to be honest with you, I have learned so much. And when I see a personality on TikTok that's giving you historical data or whatever, let me let you assure you of this. I don't take it at face value. I go ahead after I learn something from whether it's TikTok, Instagram, on even other places on the web to try to verify it, corroborate it with different sources, reputable sources, that is. And the thing, let me tell you what I find fascinating about our country. You can find nothing, we are awash in data, and you can find out anything. In other words, you can learn and nothing is hidden per se. What our plutocrats do is, they can say, you have access to all information that you want, but they make the bet that you are not going to look for it. They make the bet that you are too lazy. They make the bet that you are too uninformed to know how to find things. Okay? And that's what a lot of us on these types of platforms, that is what we're trying to mitigate. We're trying to bring information into a manner that is palatable, that is digestible, that folks will find, even sometimes find a bit entertaining, to bring you back. But let me rest you assured, all information can be found and verified. This morning I said I was going to start with Social Security and the rally that we had, but I'm going to instead start with vouchers because this was stunning to me. As you know, our birth rate is way down. Not only is the birth rate down, but we have all these conservative politicians pushing vouchers, and they're pushing vouchers under the pretext that uh, you get school choice. And in getting school choice, you can pick a school. They're trying to make everything like they think about business, right? You pay for everything that and you use your money talks for you, etc. So now they have school choice, right? Purportedly, it's a good thing. If you have a bad neighborhood school, well, instead the school just you just take the money that was given to that public school and you take that money with you to some private school. And that private school purportedly will do better than that public school. That is false. Unless you're going to a school that is endowed and wealthy, that makes no sense whatsoever. And I'll explain it in a little bit. I mean, Harvard and all these other Ivy Leagues that are private, they are actually endowed by a bunch of wealthy folks who, in the beginning, would have all their wealthy kids go to these schools, and of course, later on, they try to bring a little bit of diversity into these schools, etc. But they are only very successful and effective because they had a lot of private capital to work with. But that's not what the voucher system is doing. The voucher system is working under the pretext that if your elementary school that your kid is going in the ghetto, the barrio, or Appalachia is terrible, then why not give you a voucher so you can choose where you want to go to school? Now, if you live in the city, uh, there are generally some choices, but if you live in rural America, where most of our conservatives live, our conservative brothers and sisters in rural America, your only choice is generally public schools or maybe a far private school way down in the yonder far from you that puts a burden on you to get your kids there. So when you look at the mechanics and the reality of these voucher systems, it is never in the interest of rural America. It's even never in the interest of ghetto America, barrio America, Palachi America. And the reason why it's never in their benefits is, please tell me the last time you saw a nice school or whatever in your rundown areas. You don't. You simply don't. So, more than likely, you get your little voucher and you have to find transportation to somewhere where they have these schools. Moreover, it's a bit deeper than that. I think I'll add economics to everything that I talk about in the aggregate. And I started to think, wait a minute, what happens to that community where that school starts to get less money because so many people are voucherized? And what happens to that area's economy? And it's not hard to figure it out, right? There are several differences between public schools and private schools. First of all, let's just give the first big number. The public school teacher, on average in America, makes $66,400 a year. You know what the private school teacher makes on average? About 53,300 a year. That's a whole 13,000 something less that teacher makes. But it's worse than that. That private school teacher generally doesn't get benefits or get fewer benefits or get lousy benefits. What else is there again? That teacher, private school teacher, generally don't get health care, pensions, and all of that. Again, it's a private school, doesn't have the back end of the big systems, etc. And generally, in addition to being a private school, it's a commercial entity. Yeah, you have some nonprofits that do it. I can name you a few. I have a few friends that are on boards of some of these private schools. But for the commercial ones, you have to pay shareholders that are shareholders of that school. You have to pay the executives of that school, which in general they're probably going to be doing. The sky's the limit to what they make, and then there are also the kickbacks, etc. So the private or voucherization of our school system really is just what we have been doing best over the last several years, and that is using our tax dollars to enrich a few. Enrich whom, Egberto? Enrich the owners of these private schools, enrich the investors in these private schools, and at the same time, pay the people who are educating your children, those are teachers, etc., less money. And what does that really mean? Well, as Marseille says, first, they have no rules. Second, they close when they stop making a profit. Three, The whiny white billionaires want white people segregated away from everyone different than them, as explained also earlier by El Señor John from Cyprus. And it is so important that we see that in addition to having these a smaller pay for the teachers and having less teachers because more people are going to voucherized schools, it affects the local economy. Those teachers that are going to teach, the public school teachers that make more money, likely when they drive into that community, if they don't already live there, would buy gasoline. They may go into the abarroteria, they may go into the corner store and purchase some gum, a Coke, something. They may go into a local restaurant and, they didn't bring their lunch today and they may just go out there and eat. So all of this will provide within that ecosystem a job for the person that handles the cash register. The grocery store that has a little bit more business may hire another one or two people. All these things because those teachers, make $13,000 more a year than the private school teacher. So it has an impact on the local economy as well. And then that person who has to now drive their kids out of wherever they live to go to that private school has a new cost, which is gasoline and time. And that extra time that they're using is time that may not be productive, that could have been productively used otherwise to further enhance their own income. So all together and all around, the voucher system does a lot of damage to your local community. And this is quantifiable, right? This is quantifiable. But these vouchers were never, ever for your kids. For people who absolutely want their kids in private school, generally wealthy folks, right? What it really is a way for them to, take back some more money out of the system. But when we talk about many of the wealthy being parasites, that is the kind of thing that we're talking about. All of you that are listening to my voice, all of you pay a lot of taxes. You may not pay a lot of income taxes, but you pay a lot of taxes. Everywhere you turn, there's a tax, right? You go to the grocery store, there's a tax on non food items. You go to fix your car, there's a tax on the service, there's a tax on the parts. The average American citizen is taxed. Republicans like to make the deal that rich people pay so much more taxes because those income taxes that they pay are fairly large, which is true. But then they extract so much more from society as well. But to you, my dear worker bee, you, my dear brothers and sisters at the bus stop, you, my dear brothers and sisters on the freeway going into work right now, making a minimum wage or making $20 an hour, etc. Every day you get up and you have the plutocracy telling you you're lazy. Most people get up and go to work. The the lazy ones are the exception, but they would have you believe it's the rule. The real lazy in this country is in fact the rich because they have you serve them. They have you do everything for them. Then they tell you you don't work or you don't want to work. This voucher system, folks, is one of the many scams. Later on, I'm going to expand on the Social Security issue to show you about that voucher program in Social Security, where Besant says that is a backdoor way to privatize Social Security. Well, it's true. We'll explain that a little later. So, vouchers again, folks. The one thing Republicans and conservatives know how to do is not govern, but man, do they know how to sell something. They can get you to buy and defend so much crap that actually harms not only you, but your community. And then at the same time, make you believe it's all good. Margaret Ryan says switch to Substack on my laptop. There you go, Margaret. All right, let's go to Coach AJ. Coach AJ, talk to me.
Hey, good morning. I'm gonna try to get all this out in a few minutes. First of all, right? Let's go with Governor George Wallace Bud Abbott. When I heard him speak like that, remind me of George Wallace, the racist segregationist. If I close my eyes, that's what it sounds like. He gonna go and what is he rounding up slaves? That's what it sounds like to me. Man, hey man, I'm on fire, man. You know, how dare you talk like that to people, man? Who are you? God Gregory? Man, I can't believe this, man. And we will endorse this. Grand Wizard Greg? I ain't playing with y'all, man. And here's the thing, right? I teach, so I understand the economics. These guys, led by the leadership liar in the White House, what they are doing, look, this is what they did with prisons way back in the 80s, right? They privatized them because they know you got to feed prisoners and they got to have bedding and all that. So they made an industry out of people. I remember Jesse Jackson produced a report. They're making 25%. I think back then it was 23%, 23 to 25% on investment. So just like when people open up stores and sell cigarettes and sell booze, now we got hookahs and all that in our community, right? We're making bad decisions. We're killing ourselves, and we're making these people rich. Now they're going after our Social Security. Now they're telling us, hey, your school in the community is not good, so we need to privatize it. It's all to take money, take money from us. Here's the thing, right? And I said this before. So you got the president and the Congress cutting all types of services for all of us, right? Working class people, home entitlement, right? And then you got people that look like them, right? They know it ain't right, but they got the same skin color, and they don't want to turn on the truth, i.e., the evangelicals who back this crap, right? They openly back this. Here's the thing. So you cut all these services for everybody across the board, right? And then you use the taxpayers' money that we put in this pot, and then you call yourself a leader and you take no cut. You got salary and a pension for life. We have a credit card that we got to pay 20 to 25%. They don't have that. They use our tax money to make sure they got a nice pension, the best health care, and we will vote for these people, even people that look like them, and they'll take a bullet for them because of race. Now, let me go back a second and say this. Also, what's going on, man? Never mind, man.
I get where you are, Jan. I want to address some of what you said, right? First of all, I think it's important to realize that the divide and conquer has always been and will continue to be effective because we don't have good leaders who catch it where it needs to. I mean, you brought up the racial issue. Let me tell you what was funny to me, right? I was watching the news and they're talking about Latino voters, and they were talking about how the redistricting in Texas is occurring, and they're using the 2024 vote, the way people voted in 2024 to redraw this redistricting lines. And I kind of got a smirk on my face, right? Because remember the pickup that Donald Trump made in Latino, specifically Latino men, for his election, which he barely won. I mean, he constantly tells people he won big, but it was a marginal win. One, it's a marginal win, but Latinos played a good part in that. But here's the thing that they don't understand. If they use those maps, they would have missed what really won the election for Trump. The election for Trump, turn the radio down a bit, sir, please. The election was won by Trump because of mostly sexist and racial issues. And if a Kamala Harris doesn't run again, and we haven't, or, and let me put, if she doesn't run again, or if she runs again, but we learn from the mistake of allowing the isms to affect our vote, then I want them to redraw those maps, because what they would do is draw the maps on false pretenses, and 10 new districts will actually become competitive. 10 new districts will now become competitive. And instead of just having a 12-25, we could actually have a 20. We should actually gain a whole lot of seats for Democrats, something that a lot of people aren't talking about right now. Now, when it comes to all these different things you spoke about, look, what we have to do, coach, is the following, in my humble opinion. We have to keep It took them 50 years to get rid of Roe v. Wade. It took them several decades to get vouchers in the state that it is right now. What do these people have that many progressives and others don't? Persistence, persistent, and persistence. We have to be just as persistent in educating. We have to be just as persistent in when things go wrong, you keep moving forward. We have to be persistent in everything. And you know why I do what I do. And there's nothing that's going to change this back. We're here to educate, and we'll continue doing that. But thank you for posting your frustration, coach. Got to get some more calls, and then we'll talk. All right. All right. Let's go on. I don't hear coach, so let's go to David.
Oh, thanks, Egberto. Yeah, you know, the word of pederast, that's a fancy name for a child molester, right?
Okay. I just learned a word. I knew pedophile. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And when they do studies about rapists, child molesters, apparently it's not a sexual thing. It's a power thing. And so when we hear all of these people that are defending Trump at all costs, you expect that they're really into power and that they're pederasts at heart, they're child molesters at heart, they're rapists at heart. The idea that they would rip apart America, the ability to vote, the ability to have freedom of speech. You get down there into, well, both Texas, you know, you've had that Texas School Book Commission for,
yes,
I don't know, 50, 75 years. And the reason why the schools of America are falling apart is because of the Texas School Book Commission. They have so much purchasing power, Texas does, that almost no textbook can be sold in America if it doesn't go through that commission. And that commission is very into censorship. Just like rapists, they demand that you can't talk about evolution. They actually took Thomas Jefferson out of textbooks because they said that he was a plagiarist. You know, if he quoted Homer or if he quoted Aristotle, does that make him a plagiarist? No, the Texas School Book Commission is a power broker commission that's trying to dumb down the schools of America, and by dumbing down the schools of America, they're basically sabotaging America. They're sabotaging the future inventors in America. They're sabotaging the future musicians and artists, creative people. It's an issue of the power brokers and what you were just talking about. They don't ever seem to quit. They have a vengeful nature, a persistent nature, and they just never seem to quit.
And
well,
oh, go ahead, sir.
Well, just one of the reasons why they said tax the crap out of the rich, because when they come up with a bad idea, they keep going.
Exactly. And again, no idea that they come up with is bad, right? They simply double down on everything. It doesn't matter what the outcome tells you. It is like what welcome aboard, Jacqueline Campisi from Katy, Texas, and of course, Lita Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Here's what Jacqueline says. She says, where is the data to show that vouchers are successful? What state? Private school teachers don't have to be certified. And she nails it. Vouchers are never, ever successful, or the private schools never show a better numbers than the public schools at all. And that's the thing that people have to realize. Look, you can find individual schools that do better in the in private schools or whatever, but they simply don't have the resources to do as well as public schools. I mean, I find it ironic that what we do is, okay, the public school isn't working, we go ahead and create private school. No, if the public schools aren't working, fix the damn thing. I mean, it is that simple. Fix it. And that's what we need to do. Fix the public school system where they fail, and they usually fail in underserved areas because, my daughter went to school in Kingwood. There is great parent participation, etc. You may find that like my daughter is going to start teaching, and she's going to be teaching in I think it's called a Title I school or something like that. And I looked at her the other day and I told her, man, I'm so happy because again, I know this is one, I know that out of her, they're going to get a teacher that cares, a teacher that wants to make her classes better. And I probably can say the same about our teacher sister in the chat right now, Jacqueline Campisi. you know it's great that we're going to have that we know these public school teachers that are out there doing their jobs. Anyway, David, thank you so much. I got to go to Patrick and
Oh, my
Jimmy. Oh,
pleasure.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you have a wonderful day, sir. Let's go to Patrick. Brother Patrick, how you doing, man? I haven't heard your voice in a while.
Yeah, well, we've even got a lot of good callers, so I'm kind of giving everybody some space. Um, you and I have talked, and Jack mentioned maybe a few weeks ago that they're slowly trying to erase people out of society. And I said 10 years ago I would have called Jack crazy, but now I completely see it. I'm not sure if you're aware, but about 2 weeks ago there was a executive order written that compels states to criminalize homelessness, mental
Yeah.
illness,
Yeah.
and substance abuse. And the way they're going to handle that is civil internment. So we're going to start seeing camps with people that maybe get cleared out of bars, people that might be in between homes on the street. And then the scariest thing is mentally ill according to who?
Thank
I
you.
mean, the president could say anybody that disagrees with him is mentally ill. The president's going to definitely say that anybody from the LGBTQ community is mentally ill. They're compiling lists of autistic children. We're going to see family members disappearing very soon.
I don't think people because the way look, they're doing it very systematically right now. They're seeing how can they get Americans used to these rogue guys just pulling people off the street, and they do it under the pretext of immigration. Now we even have United States citizens being pulled into these camps and taking a while before it's really, really quote unquote proven that they're American citizens or legal, right? We're starting to see them exercise these things. I mean, I don't want people to think that we are over dramatizing what is actually occurring. These are all test runs. And how do we know that really this is going to be the modus operandi? When you allocate the amount of money that you allocate for ICE and its subsidiaries, it is equivalent to the third largest army, the third largest military in the world. That's how much money we have allocated to ICE. and they need something to do. And people sit down, and there's not enough undocumented for the budget that they've just created. And what they've done is exactly that, as you mentioned, Patrick. They are working on disappearing people. And again, it's a standard modus operandi, and we got to talk about it. Because the more you talk about it, the more people become aware of it, and then we'll be able to stop it then. But thank you, my brother. Anything else, real quick, Patrick?
No, just to reinforce the statement where they're incrementally increasing the size of net that they're casting, which you brilliantly said. But I mean that has to be said over and over.
Yeah, we have to keep telling people. Scott, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, Patrick. Let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
You know, last night I was watching the Stephen Colbert show. His guest, a former Secretary of Labor under Obama, and they were discussing the Department of Labor Statistics.
Robert Reich.
Robert Reich. Yeah, the Statistics Board came out with a new report a few days ago that showed the economy was not as strong as Trump liked. So Trump said it was rigged and fired the woman who heads the Department of Labor Statistics. He had no evidence that it's rigged. He's lying, and he lies all the time, and we can't trust him. The people who have been supporting Trump need to realize that this man cannot be trusted. He lies all the time, and they need to stop supporting the man in the White House who lies to them all the time.
Jim, the bet that the Trump administration is doing is keep the sycophants that are with him as long as they can, so that they can create the structures of authoritarianism. I mean, that's the whole goal. They're just trying to buy time to put up all their structures, to put up the prison camps, and this is not conjecture, folks. These things are being built in military bases, etc. already. We don't have enough. We are not arresting enough quote unquote violent, undocumented people to fill up what they're building. This is a money grab for businesses that's using people as cattle. You heard what Patrick spoke about the executive order that people on the streets are, whether you're mentally challenged, hungry, homeless, etc. Put you away. All of that is true. All right, Jimmy. Anything else before I move on? I got several calls I got to get to.
I want to say cheers to the Democrats in the Texas House of Representatives in Austin who left the state rather than stay here and let the Republicans redistrict things and gain 5 states for the Republicans that they don't deserve. You're only supposed to do that whenever the population changes every 10 years.
Every 10 years, and that you have a census to do it with. Thank you, Jimmy. Got to go. You're a great guy. We'll talk tomorrow. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Eddie. Come on in, Eddie.
Hey, good. I just wanted to point out a small error that aggregate private schools do outperform the public schools, and that's proof on evidence of SAT scores and higher ACT scores as well.
Sir, I don't know where you're reading your data from, but that is provably false, and I'll go ahead and look it up and put it out for people. Let's go to James.
Congratulations on your daughter getting into education, but I take a little exception. Were you inferring that teachers at Title I schools do not care as much as teachers that are non-Title I?
No, not at all. If that is what I implied, that's not what I wanted to say at all. It's just that the people at Title I schools have a much difficult task. In fact, if you notice, I said that what they have in other schools is a lot of parent participation, etc., which means those teachers have a lot of help. In Title I schools, already in areas where 2 parents have to go to work, many may work longer hours, kids are unsupervised, etc. No, I know too many Title I teachers. I'm sorry if that is what I sound. It sounded like I was saying.
I taught 30 years in HISD at a Title One, a beautiful school, Title One, mostly immigrant refugee kiddos, and there's this whole false dichotomy: good school versus bad school. And that has
Right.
absolutely nothing to do with the school or the building, but that's like
Right.
an sort of like, I had the best job, I'm telling you, for 30 years with kids from other countries. They stood up when I came in the room. Yes, sir. No, sir. Like some of my nieces and nephews went to Episcopal High School over there on the West Loop. And I would have, I mean, just the juxtaposition. Anyway, I could go on and on all day, but it's the hardest but most fulfilling job at a Title One school. I just retired last year because of the new regime that's in, but it's one day you should have a talk about how they use this terminology: good school versus bad school. Get me on your program. I would love to go on about that and talk about it someday.
Okay, I'll be more than happy to do that, my friend. In fact, drop me a line, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
KPFT.
My class was on TV and on CNN a lot. You can see it if you look it up. Anthony Bourdain show and everything. And anyway, so I'll give you an email in a little while.
Thank you, my brother. Let's go to take care. Let's go to John. Come on in, John.
Yeah, since we're talking about education, I think one of the biggest problems with education is that, this whole idea of STEM, which leaves out history, politics, other languages. We're not giving kids an even education. And, it's interesting. I mean, you can be brilliant. I know you're an engineer. It can be a brilliant physicist. Or an engineer. My father-in-law was brilliant, but he didn't really know very much about how politics worked or history or any of those things until later in life, when he was retired and he was able to, take on those subjects. So we're not giving children an even education, and it shows, and they're not going to get it from the media. The media does a worse and worse job of informing people. This democracy depends on educated people, truly educated people, to make the decisions that they need to make. And if they can't, then it just trains people to be servants of the oligarchy. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, my brother. You have a good one, okay? Thank you, John. All right, let's go to Dawn, line 2.
Yes, hello. Egberto, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dawn. How you doing?
Good. I haven't had a chance to call in for some time, but I just wanted to comment on, what's being said this morning, especially what Patrick said. It's really pretty scary, all the things that are happening. I see just a daily drip, a daily edition of things, if people are watching and staying aware in the news and the things that are passing. I think I saw yesterday, just to bounce off of what Patrick said, that now Trump is going to focus, they're going to focus on homegrown. So what Patrick was mentioning, that, we may be, going, locally, they're going to start picking up people, just like they picked up the daughter of, I believe, the preacher.
Yeah, preacher from Korea.
Yeah, so now I see just picking up people for no reason, scaring people out from coming into our country that improve our education, that make us smarter. It's really, really unfortunate, and that bounces into, what the previous caller was talking about. Yes, we need to be educated. I'm a teacher. I'm a private school teacher, actually, and just want to kind of, speak up for that. I work really hard. We work in conjunction with public schools. We do training with them. We try to improve, based on their standards, and yes, we're not paid as much. We do a lot of what we do with a heart. Not that public school teachers don't either; they do as well.
Dawn, first of all, I want to thank you for being
educate our people.
Dawn, I want to first thank you for being a teacher and for what you do. I want to pause you 1 second because I want to correct something. Like I said, all of the times. If I make an error in a statement, I want to make sure and clear it up as soon as possible, and I want to do that. A previous caller called in to state that private schools get higher ACT scores and SAT scores. He was absolutely correct. But here is the kicker. And I've researched this before, and I'm like, what is he talking about? And that is because when you average in all private schools were generally a rich people thing. And what we were trying to do now is give, supposedly with vouchers, people better opportunities, meaning poor people better opportunities or middle class people better opportunities. What I should have said, and I didn't, is that people receiving vouchers. Research constantly shows that students receiving private school vouchers generally do not score higher on standardized tests like SAT or ACT than similar students attending public schools. And there is a reason why that is the case, and that is the scam of vouchers is that you give people in every socioeconomic thing a voucher and say, go have at it, compared to rich people who inherently privatize things and make sure things are better for their class, etc. So apologies to the person who said private schools in the aggregate have better SAT scores. That is because that is the domain of mostly the upper classes, but voucherized students do poorer in ACT and SAT scores. I wanted to clear that up before the program was over. Continue, Don.
No, no problem, no problem. my stance is, we work in conjunction with public school. They work in conjunction with us. And I just think that at this time, we all need to stay really aware. We need to educate ourselves. It doesn't just happen in the classroom. I always tell my students that, I'm opening a door for you. You need to step inside, investigate more. I always encourage them. And there's censorship. A lot of things are being shut down. We have to, as citizens, doesn't matter what, side of the coin you're on, what, political party you adhere to, just stay aware. If things don't go badly, if things are okay, if everything works out, great. But just stay aware. I'm just calling out to everyone.
Hey, Dawn, you just said stay woke.
Stay aware. Wake up.
Stay woke. Hey, Dawn, I only have a little bit of time, so I got to go. But thank you, sis. And by the way, I want to mention one thing, Dawn. Please don't believe that because I said public school teachers make more, which is true, that somehow that was a disparagement on private school teachers.
Oh, no, I didn't at all. I'm just
okay. I just want to make sure. Thank you, sis. Have a good one.
Have stuff to do. You too.
Thank you, sis. Have a good one. Let's go to Derek. Derek, I'm gonna have to cut everybody short, so come on in, brother. My fault.
Right. That's okay. I just wanted to say quickly. We have people that have the Bible in their homes, the Qurans in their homes, but I don't think you take the time to really read and know that you don't have to be in such religious fervor when you read these books. These books are actually showing you the mindset of the rulers today. When you look at Netanyahu over there, that's a very wicked man.
Yes.
Very wicked. And you know where you can find his mindset in? When you talk about Herod trying to kill the Messiah, Jesus, or whatever you want to place there, Messiah, Reformer, Redeemer, that is a reason why he's trying to kill off a lot of the Palestinians like that, men, women, and children. And the ugly thing that's coming away from over there right now is that they have a hoodie there with a pregnant woman, and it's a 2-for-1 on it.
Thank you, brother.
I'm calling to say, bro.
Derek, I gotta go. Thank you for always having some enlightening stuff. You have a wonderful day, sir. All right, let's go to Donald. Close her up for me before I could jump to the studio. Real quick, Donald.
Okay, the way you come across, Egberto, it sounded like an elitist. It took me back to that movie Freedom Riders with Hilary Swank or whatever her name is. I just can't believe that. But you know what the good thing is? numbers, formulas, equations don't lie, and they don't have feelings. So that's why you come across as your engineer mind. But the human element is always funny with all these feelings and emotions. But you keep up the good work. I'm just messing with you. I know you're working on your human element interaction, but I know
I
you
am
know
the
numbers.
next brother. You know I'm not an elitist, but I mean I did. I look. Hold on, real quick. I did get called out right when and but it wasn't for being elitist though. But I just got called out on the show today, and I made sure and corrected that, brother. All right.
But Freedom Riders is a good movie, and great work on your daughter, and she will get more reward out of that than anything else in the world, because teaching is with love and compassion, and what you put
Yes.
into it, you get back tenfold, because you're creating the next generation. Other than
You're
that,
absolutely.
carry on.
You're.
Talk to you later.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. But you know, he nailed me. That the guy that called in and said, "What are you saying about teachers in Title One schools?" I had to correct that rather quickly because that's not at all what I was trying to say. So I had to make sure to my brother, okay, this is what I really mean, sir. All right, let's go to the studio. Thank you, guys.
Uh,
Look
oh,
at this. I caught him off guard.
yeah, right. Trump. Okay. The Guardian's headline is Trump fires statistic chief, puts U.S. data credibility at risk. All right, they're going to set up to lie to us some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mayana, ¿qué tienes para mí? What you got for me, if anything?
Actually, I'm just caught off guard at the moment.
Oh, I caught you off guard too.
Yeah.
Well, no
But
problem,
it's
sis. All right, let's close this baby down. First of all, guys, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your participation. That's what it's all about. Bi-directional communication. That's how our news is supposed to be as well. Anyway, folks, love you all. Remember, the rest of the show is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. Politicsandright.com/newsletter. You can email me directly at kfft@politicsandright.com. kfft@politicsandright.com. Uju and everybody else in the chat with some very smart commentary. Couldn't read them all, but thank you for doing that. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!